So without further ado, let me introduce the owner and founder of Boomernology, David Kolesnikow.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks for that lead in. Hi, everyone. Well, tonight's main topic is a big one, and it's regarding cybersecurity and fraud prevention with respect to our computers and phones. So we're going to get started. I'm going to share my screen with everyone. So first of all, thanks, Jeff, for that awesome lead in. I'd like to really welcome and thank you so much for your time this evening and joining for tonight's webinar. It's really important, this topic. And just before we get started, I just want to make sure everybody can see and hear us. So without further ado, we're going to get started. So what are we going to learn tonight? Well, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself, and then we're going to go over 5 key points that at the end of this webinar, hopefully you will be able to be more aware of cyber attacks and fraud with respect to your devices, and you're going to learn how to avoid and prevent them in the future. So what are these 5 key points? Well, we're going to start with a little introduction about myself, and then we're going to define cybersecurity and fraud exactly. Then we're going to go into why you personally may be vulnerable to possible threats and fraud. And then from there, we're going to talk about types of cyber threats and ways to identify them before they strike. And I'm going to give you some concrete examples throughout the webinar. So as I mentioned earlier, you can be prepared for such attacks. Then we're going to go from there. We're going to talk about fraud prevention. We're going to learn about how to protect yourself online against online fraud. And we're also going to discuss some password management, Wi-Fi, proper Wi-Fi usage. We're going to look into what are we going to look into? Oh, and then we're going to go into helpful resources, and then we're going to finish up with some essential next steps, and then we're going to end with some Q&A. So let's just go from there. So who am I? Yup, that's me. I know that desk is terrible. It's a mess. That was a long time ago. So who am I? Well, hi, everyone. My name is David Kolesnikow. And as Jeff mentioned earlier in the feed, I'm the CEO and founder of Boomernology, which is based in New York City. And we're an IT company that provides personalized one-on-one tech support to empower baby boomers and older adults with their technology needs. A few fun facts about myself, just like you saw in that previous slide, I was a world famous document shredder. As you saw that document shredder for about $18 an hour working out of a warehouse in New Jersey. And from there, I worked my way into some big time major New York City law firms as a senior paralegal working on some major cases. I always had a love and passion for technology, and I actually learned a lot about technology hands-on while I was working on some major white collar and high tech cases. And I started Boomernology out of a sheer accident. It started with my cat sitter. She had a litany of issues with her cell phone. I helped her. From there, I gave her some tips. From there, she told a few friends. From there, it became some family friends. And I realized there was a huge need in the market for older adults and baby boomers who were, to be honest, not comfortable or intimidated by technology. And I get a real joy in helping people. And it makes me really happy to see my clients and other older adults and other individuals be empowered with their tech. So I'm really excited about this webinar, and let's get started. And hopefully I can help you tonight with some of this information and some tips. So let's get to it. So we're going to talk exactly about what exactly is cybersecurity and fraud prevention. What is the importance of these concepts and how they impact our daily lives? You see, cybersecurity and fraud prevention are essential to protecting our personal and financial information in the digital age. To just define these terms real quick, cybersecurity and prevents unauthorized access and attacks on our systems and data, whereas fraud prevention prevents identity theft and investment fraud. So why are these concepts so important and how they impact our daily lives? Well, we have to be really cautious about what information we share online and to avoid falling victim to such fraudulent activities. Well, you may say, well, how am I going to fall victim to these fraudulent activities? You may ask, why you? Well, why you? Why you may be vulnerable to possible threats and fraud? Well, it's real simple. You see, the thieves want to go where the money is, both geographically and economically. Just a quick fact. From my research, baby boomers and older adults are the second largest age population group in the United States, with the highest household net worth of any generation. You see, baby boomers and older adults have been shown to adopt key technologies, with close to 70% making a tech purchase in the past year. And that's even more during COVID, because we all wanted to stay connected with our loved ones. And by 2030, it's projected that baby boomers and older adults are on pace to spend an average of $108 billion annually on tech products. Now, that's all well and good. And older adults and baby boomers are now up to date with technology and buying the next shiny thing, but also there's a downside to it. And studies show that, however, there are also potential targets for possible cyber threats and fraud due to their lower tech savviness compared to younger generations who grew up with technology their whole lives. So it's going to bring us to our next point, which is types of cyber threats and ways to identify them before they strike. We're going to talk about these various types of cyber threats, such as social engineering, phishing, malware, and ransomware. So you may ask, well, what are these examples? Well, I'm going to give you some concrete examples of some screenshots, and we're going to show these examples of each type of threat and what they look like, so you know what to look for exactly when you come across these on your own devices. And we're going to look for such identifications of cyber threats, such as suspicious emails, unknown websites, and we're going to look about things that may request for your own personal information. So let's start with our first example. But before that, if we're going to talk about cyber threat, then that means cybercrime. So we're going to talk about exactly what is cybercrime. Well, cybercrime is a criminal activity involving a computer, network device, or a network. You see, cyber criminals use various cyber threats, such as social engineering, phishing, malware, and ransomware, as I mentioned earlier, in order to generate profit and damage or to disable your device. So let's start with our first example of a cyber threat. So we're going to talk about social engineering. What's social engineering exactly? Well, social engineering is the art of manipulating people pretending to be someone else in order to obtain confidential information. So I wanted to give everyone in the group this evening an example. If you could look on your screen, this is a screenshot of a text message I received a couple days ago. And basically, it's supposedly from Netflix. And you can see what I have highlighted in the bar. It's basically Netflix. For full disclosure, I don't even have a Netflix membership, but it's telling me that my membership is going to be placed on hold, due to billing information. Well, I know that's a red flag already, being that I don't have an account. But what's the other thing that we can notice here? If I can show everybody in the group, in the sender section, now this is from a text, you don't see a number, nor do you see any type of affiliated email address with respect to Netflix. So I know that's a red flag right there. And that's a big telltale warning sign. Now, on the next screenshot, as I scroll down, I took this screenshot. So now it's telling me to offer my personal information to update my account by clicking onto this link. So if you can look at this link, we can just see what's funny about it. One, there's no mention of Netflix whatsoever in the hyperlink. The other thing too is this is called a hypertext transfer protocol, HTTP, where if it was a secure connection, it would have an S at the end, meaning that if you click on it, it would take you to a secure connection. So I already know that this link is not secure and it's going to take me to a bad place. And then also what we can see here is it's signed Netflix services. Now, we all know with Netflix, if there was something really wrong with your account, they would let you know on the TV, or it wouldn't work at all, or you probably get a really professional email with respect to Netflix. So these are a lot of red flags notifying us that this is a junk message. So what are we going to do? What are the next proactive steps we could take? Well, what we could do is we could delete it and report it as junk. So this does two things. One, whether it's on your phone as a text, or let's just say your home email or your work email, you're going to report it as junk or spam. And what does that do? You're going to let, whether it's the cell provider or the email provider, like, hey, I'm getting these kind of weird messages. I don't want these. And it's going to filter them out going forward. Now, can they block everything? No, because we're bombarded with junk all the time. That's the way technology works these days. And the other thing too is now we could be proactive after we report it. We could delete it for good, and hopefully we never get this again.
Chris,
so these are one of the, yes.
Is this for people who have Apple phones? Because I don't know
No,
if Android has a way to report text.
Well, you could mark it, and then there's a section where you could click on that. You can, if you select it, it'll say delete, and then you could. I think it's either spam or junk. Theirs is differently because it's Android.
Hmm.
So, but there's definitely a filter for that. Or they have another thing where you could block as well.
Thank you.
Anytime. We're all good? Okay.
We're good.
All right. All right. So we're going to go to our next example of a cyber threat, and that's phishing. And it's just like the word phishing, right? You're basically getting baited to click on something so something else could be lawfully, unlawfully loaded and downloaded into your computer. So basically, what is phishing? Well, phishing is sending fraudulent emails appearing to be from a trusted source in order to install malware or steal data. Okay. So here's another example of a phishing attack. So here you have, just for full disclosure, this is my own email account and I have a spam folder, as I mentioned in the social engineering example. So this is a friend of mine, as you can see here, highlighted in the box. Now, this is actually my friend, but if you could point out right here, he just sends me this subject matter where it just says, hi, David, and then something's fishy right here about, no pun intended, about the link, right? So the beauty about spam folders is you could actually preview the email without opening it up. That's why it's really important to place these in a spam or a junk folder. And as you can see here, I highlighted what's funny about this. Just for full disclosure, I contacted my friend and I asked him just to verify, did he ever send it? And he never did. So what is a red flag that we could point out with this phishing example? If you see here, you see his full name and everything's correct, but that's not his work email. It's not his home email. He's not affiliated with this. I never even heard of notfishay@teamassist.com. And then if you can see here, here's another red flag. Here's a hyperlink. And this one is a tricky one because here it is, as I mentioned earlier, HTTPS. It's a secure connection, but I have no idea where it's taking me to. And this is the problem where things get tricky, especially when it comes to these phishing emails, which is going to bring us to our next example. Because if you click on one of these, what's going to happen next is you're going to have some malware installed into your computer. So what is malware exactly? Well, malware is also known as malicious software. These are the bad things that unfortunately gets loaded onto your computer when you click on these kind of links, such as viruses, keyloggers, ransomware, worms, Trojan virus. And these are things that could honestly disrupt or damage your computer. So I'm going to give you an example of some malware traps. So here again, spam folder. Here's another tricky one. If you can see here, this is highlighted right here. I have this email from admin owner with respect to an Amazon business. Now, this is a real tricky one because I actually used to have an Amazon seller business years ago. So this is really interesting. So here I get this thing about tips for your Amazon business for 2023, which I closed this in like 2019. So as we go to the next, I just want to highlight this for the group here. See this right here? This says admin owner news seller engine. I have no idea what this mumbo jumbo email address is, right? So obviously I reported this as spam for just safety. Wants me to scroll down this email. As we go down, it's mentioning these possible tools it could offer me for my so-called Amazon business. All right. And then what it's going to do is it's going to bring me to here. They want me to fill out this form in order to gain some kind of information from me, right? So if I'm not paying attention, and let's just say I want to click on this form, basically I'm setting myself up to have some type of a link or some other gateway to a type of malicious software that could be installed on my computer. Now, what's that mean? That means malicious software could be viruses that could do a lot of things. It could freeze your computer, make your computer run slowly delete your hard drive space without you knowing. I've known that to happen a lot. So let's just say you have 100 gig on your computer, and then a week later you're down to 80 and you have no idea why, because you haven't saved anything and the malware installed into your hard drive and it's slowly deleting space off your hard drive. So that's another way. If I can give you another example of ways that malicious software can bait you, is here's another phishing email. What can we notice about this one in this example? If you see here, look at this site, bigbrandgiftcards.com. Never even heard of it. The site's not even secure, right? They're offering me $1,000 Amazon gift card. What else can we notice here in this highlight example? You see here, the Amazon. I mean, we all shop Amazon. We all know the logo. There's no way that this is the identical logo. So this is definitely a red flag. Then they put this FOMO out where, hey, click on so you can be a part of this survey. And this is not a good idea. If I could tell anyone in the group to click on these surveys, you want to be really cautious. And the reason why is, as I mentioned before, you have these possible viruses. But another example I could give you of malicious software, and it's a bad one, are these things. And these are basically called keyloggers, and these are really bad. So what happens is, let's just say you click on one of these surveys and you just do the survey. What happens is, now this keylogger, which is malicious software, gets logged in. It's basically the back door to your house of your computer. It's going to get loaded, and what it does is, you can see here, it's going to monitor your keystrokes for an allotted period of time. Okay, why is this bad? Well, I can explain. Because let's just say they click and they set it for about a month. Okay, now after that month, without your knowledge, they're going to figure out what sites you visit, your banking sites, your shopping sites. They're going to have all the access for your passwords, your usernames. They're going to know everything. And without your knowledge, and that's the creepiest thing. So that's why you got to be really careful with these malicious software programs, such as like this keylogger, because they, as I mentioned before, they sneak right through the back door and steal your information. And the best thing is, go ahead.
What do people get out of loading malware onto your computer?
Well, they can get a lot, because what they do is, first it comes in all as code, right? And then they have these decoding programs. And then from there, they know what sites that you frequent, as I mentioned earlier. So it's just like keystroking. So basically, let's just say on a Friday, it's payday, right? And you're doing your online bill pay. You're basically they're reading all your keystrokes from you paying your bill. So let's say you're paying your credit card bill. Now they have access to your credit card bill. I'm sorry, your credit card information. Let's just say you're moving money around, right? You're moving money from your checking account to a CD. They have access to your login, your investments account. So let's just say you have TD Ameritrade, or, what's another one? Robinhood, if you will. They're able to keystroke and access that information. They can manipulate trades. There's numerous ways. So unfortunately, there's also ways you could tell, like, if your significant other's cheating on you. So there's ways to install this software, and you can read, your significant other's computer and see what kind of emails they're writing or what kind of messages they're sending. So it's pretty sneaky stuff. Happens all the time.
All right.
All right. So another dangerous thing, if you click on one of these links, and little sound effect is one of these. Let's just say you get some ransomware. So you're going to say what ransomware is? Well, ransomware is one of those. So what's going to happen is, you click on some malicious software, and it basically, next thing you know, you get this horrible sound, like an air raid horn, or you're going to get one of these screens that locks up, and you can't click out of your browser, your keys don't work. And basically what these hackers do is, they get into your computer, and they're able to freeze your computer. And what they do is they, go ahead.
Sorry, we're backtracking a little bit. Are keyboard loggers able to see content if you use a password manager?
No, because that's a great question. Because usually, if what you do is, you can have your password manager on your cell phone instead of, so the way password managers work for safety precautions, you can either have it on your computer or you can have it on your cell phone. You don't have it on all your devices. You have one device. So let's just say you have it on your phone. So let's just say if you don't have it on your computer, you could change your passwords. Like, they have these things called password generators. So if you feel weary about being keystroke, they have special options where you could change your password constantly.
And one more question, how do you know if a free keylogger is happening?
That's that's the scary thing is that's what malicious software is. So, like I was mentioning before about the Trojan virus, that it's just like the Trojan horse. You have no idea. The only way you're going to be able to detect these things, I'm going to go further into it into the webinar, is if you install really good antivirus software protection. So, like the two big ones out there, McAfee or Norton. So, what they're going to do is it'll run when you install these virus programs, it's going to run a full scan of your computer. And once it does, it's going to give you a list. And then it's going to give you a list of the applications. And from there, you'll be able to tell by you could Google like types of keyloggers, and they'll give you like the actual application path for the keyloggers. And from there, you're going to be able to pinpoint. It's going to be like an install file. So basically, it's going to extract it, and it's going to say, hey, this install file is a keylogger or whatever. It could be malware or it could be a ransomware.
Can an antivirus program or software stop these things?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. In my personal experience, they're pretty effective. The only time something could be really bad if it's a deep hack. And if it's a deep hack, there's a ways to remove that. And one of them is, let's just say you have a thing with Norton or McAfee. What you could do is they could go on your computer and they could physically go on remotely and extract the virus. They have the capabilities to do that. And it costs money to do that. So, but it depends on the severity of the hack. And then another way, and it's an unfortunate way, but if you really, really back up your computer well, what you could do is you could totally system reset and wipe out your computer clean, and then just restart your computer and reload everything from scratch. It'll get everything out because you're wiping everything clean. But the hassle with that is now you have to bring everything back from your hard drive. And depending on how much information, it could take a significant amount of time.
All right.
All right.
Oh, thanks so much.
Anytime, my pleasure. So as we're finishing up ransomware here, I just give a quick example. One of my clients went through one of these, and it was, so basically she got one of these and it was making all these noises, and she told me to come over. I went over. Her screen wasn't really froze, but the bad thing, and this is like we were saying more about the back door, like you were saying, Jeff, was she said that a gentleman was calling her 4 to 6 times a day, threatening her to pay money in order to unlock her screen. Now, I was able to unlock her screen, and we were lucky enough that this gentleman happened to call. And basically, I spoke to him. I told him, the screen's not frozen anymore. You're wasting your time. And if you don't call. And if you do, we're going to report you to the authorities. And thankfully, he stopped. But like you were saying before, like about the back door, it's really weird because how did he get her phone number? Right? You don't know. It could have been from key logging. Who knows? It's just really good malicious software that they were able to extract that kind of information. So these types of cyber threats and the examples I provide you are things that we really have to be cautious. And I hope that, these screenshots will be helpful for everybody on the webinar tonight. So if you come across these, you know what to look for.
Here's a relevant question. If you put your debit card in Zelle, etc., and you then or receive money from someone else's card, can scammers get that information from either side and use it?
They could. I mean, to be honest, not everything is 100% hack proof. So there's no guarantees. You know what I mean? I mean, it's been done before. I mean, we've seen it. There's been reports of, banks, Visa, Capital One. I know I use personally, for full disclosure, I use Capital One, and their server was shut down they were just overwhelmed with so much data that the server shut down. And so there's not everything is 100%, but if you could take some type of protection, it's a step in the right direction.
Yeah. And also, I think I've noticed a difference between running the antivirus program versus letting it run in the background. Do you have anything to say about that?
Well, the thing is, I think it's better to let it run. So me personally, I like to put it on and go to bed and just leave it on. You know, I just lock my screen so my cat doesn't walk on my computer, for full disclosure. But yeah, because what happens is when you're on your computer, it's it's the RAM is getting overwhelmed because it's working double time because you're working on it and it takes up a lot of internal memory to run the virus scan. So it's one of those things you just want to let it run on its own. And the thing is, when you run the full scan, that takes a long time. But from there, let's just say you're crunched for time, you can always run a daily scan, which is kind of quick. Or they also have these things called quick scans you could do, where it doesn't go through every exact file. You could select parameters, so certain folders or all files. It's whatever your preferences are. And Norton McAfee. Okay.
Here's a question. If you want to continue with Norton McAfee, this question is: are Apple computers virus free?
The system. So they use unit. Their internal operating system is really good. I think me personally, I have a Mac, for full disclosure. I use nothing but Mac. Now, with that being said, I've never been hacked. I'm probably going to jinx myself tonight, but but seriously, they're really adamant about their firewall protection. So they're really proactive. And the other thing too is, just for extra safety, I like to use Norton. That's what I use. And we're going to go into it in our next segment, but software updates play a key factor. And it's the number one thing that I deal with my clients all the time is updating your software. Because one of the things when you get your software updates, and it happens to all of us, we get busy, we're wrapped in our own lives, we forget things. When you update your software, it does two things. It eliminates the bugs and fixes them, right? The other thing is it installs new secure parameters. So they do their research and they say, well, in the past, we learned from our last operating system, we had these types of hacks. So their developers go through and they figure out, all right, our next software update, we're going to try to eliminate these types of malware attempts or attacks, if you will. So that's why it's really important to be on top of your software updates. And the other thing too is, you don't update your software, your virus protection is not going to work as well either.
Wow. Okay. Now we are coming up on the half-hour mark, but someone is asking, how do you run the virus? What? How do you run the virus scan daily while charging the phone? And are there free antivirus programs?
There are free antivirus programs. You could search for them on Google. I mean, I like them, but me personally, for my own research, I just like Norton. I like McAfee. They run anywhere from $50 to $150. The only reason they cost more is because the more devices. I think the top option for $150, I think it protects anywhere from I think up to 15 devices, which is a lot. And they're kind of like family packages, right? So your computers, your kids' computers, whoever's living in your home. So, and I'm sorry, I missed the first question. Can you repeat that again?
What was it? How do you run the virus scan daily while charging the phone?
Oh, well, it's real simple. So you could set up, once you install it, you could set up, they have, as I mentioned earlier, they have quick scan, daily scan, full scan. Charging the phone has nothing to do with it. It's just using the phone. That's the thing. So if you were doing a full scan, if you will, and you had the virus protection on your phone, and let's just say you were going through your social media or you were deleting emails for hours, it's going to take forever to run that full scan because it has to just run through. It's kind of like, if I had to give you an example, it's like, let's just say you're baking for your family and everybody comes in and they want to stick their finger in the pie and it hasn't cooked yet. You got to let the pie cook.
Yeah. And how much is it to update your software? I would say that, isn't it free?
It's free.
It comes with the software.
Yeah, it's free. It's free. You just go, all you have to do is you go in your settings, you click on the software, whether you have a Mac or a PC, and it'll tell you right away. And you could also set it up for notifications. So when you start your computer in the morning, you might get a little pop-up window. Hey, you need a software update. And then they'll even say, here, just click on and we'll do the rest.
Okay. Yep. And one person
All
is
good?
suggesting
go
that
ahead.
AARP has a discount for Norton.
There you go. Christmas in July. That's awesome. It's funny you say that, because I think Norton has a special right now. And I think if you sign up for the first year, it's great. It's only $9.99. And the only stickler to it is the following year, they auto charge your credit card for the full amount. So it's a great deal, because basically, so for $110, you're getting 2 years of virus protection.
All right. So
yeah, and the great
ransomware.
ransomware. So I'm pretty much done with it. If you want to just move forward.
Sure.
Okay. So now we're going to go into, how's everybody doing so far? We're good? All right. Let's go.
I guess so. If people have questions, they'll throw it into the chat.
Yeah, I'm ready. Bring it on. So now we're going to talk about how to protect yourself online for fraud prevention. Okay. Fraud prevention is really big, especially with older adults, and they're vulnerable targets, to be quite honest. And this evening, I'm going to provide some examples of typical fraud schemes, and I'm going to provide some tips regarding the information you look at and the information you share. And then I'm going to bring up some things about Wi-Fi usage, password management, software updates. And we already spoke about virus protection, so we could put that to the side. So we're going to talk about online fraud. And basically, online fraud is a major issue in our digital age. You see, particularly for baby boomers and older adults, as I mentioned earlier. You see, as I mentioned in the previous segment about cybercrime, cyber criminals use social engineering. They're able to monitor, like with keystrokes or just being on the back door of your computer. They know the sites you visit. So they use social engineering tactics to appear legitimate, posing as family members, banks, charities, mortgage vendors, your political affiliations, healthcare providers, to steal your sensitive information, which could lead to identity theft, phishing scams, credit card frauds, and a whole other pretty bad issues. That's why we have to be really vigilant, okay, about what we look at and the information we provide, and to stay safe, to protect ourselves against these types of threats. So we're going to talk about examples for online fraud. So if you can see here, I have this online profile, and everybody, you really need to hear this one. So this isn't someone I know, but I put this example up because a client of mine, actually, he's very successful. She calls me one day, she tells me, hey, I think there's a fake profile of me. And I was like, well, why do you think that? And she's like, well, on Facebook, I had some family members and friends contact me and say, is everything okay? And she's like, yeah, why? Well, I don't know. You put on Facebook that you need $10,000 because you're in a jam. So I went over to her home, and there you go. She had a fake profile, and it was really scary because it was her actual picture. Her friend list, there was a lot of friends that she knew, and I conferred that with her. And then it had where she went to university, and then it had some of her hobbies. And then as we scrolled in the profile, there were some people she never even heard of, and there was the post asking for $10,000. So, she was pretty overwhelmed. So what did we do? We had the account deleted. We contacted Facebook. They were really proactive and great. And then they took the measures, and they had it removed off their server, I think in 24 to 48 hours. And they took the necessary measures and steps to notify the authorities about this possible online fraud. So the reason why I put this fake profile up to let everybody in the group know is, if you're on social media, every once in a while, review your profile. Look at your friends, make sure they're actually your friends, and make sure to go through your feed. You might see something where you're asking somebody for $20,000, or you're just asking for, to click on some, unnecessary link. So as I mentioned earlier, I wanted to give you some tips about information you share. So like medical and healthcare, right? We're all really health conscious. We have loved ones that we care about, find out about illness. We all went on the web when COVID came around. So we have to be really proactive and careful about the the information we look at, and then the information that we get back. Okay, so we have to be really cautious about the sites we visit. Are they secure? Is it really the doctors that we follow? Is it really the pharmaceutical companies that we follow? A family friend mentions a site to us. Is that really legit? So we have to be really careful with that. And then with respect to, let's just say you're getting research from a university and it doesn't end in .com. You want to make sure if it's from a university, the end of the web address ends in .edu. If you're looking at something that has to do with the government, let's just say Medicaid or another government affiliate entity, you want to make sure it ends in .gov. So that's one way. Another way is online banking. We all do online banking. So we have to be really cautious about, as I mentioned earlier, our personal information. So one of the things I can't stress more is don't access your your bank account on a public computer, not at the public library. Don't go to Staples where you could pay to use their computer. Don't use FedEx to pay to use their computer. You have no idea who's on the other side of that connection, and you don't have no idea how good the security is. Another thing is don't reveal your personal information. Let's just say you want to follow a political affiliate and they, whatever side you're on, and they're like, well, hey, donate $100 to our party. We just need your bank account or your date of birth to, don't divulge that kind of information. Your social security number, you definitely don't want to divulge that kind of information. Another thing too is regarding paying a bill online or making an online donation. Type the site that you know into your address bar. Don't copy and paste it from an email from a friend of yours or a text message. Like I showed you before in the social engineering and phishing example, all it takes is one alphanumeric character to just change the address and take you down a wormhole. And next thing you know, your information is getting stolen or you have some pretty horrible malware installed. Another thing too, and I mentioned this earlier, is shopping. So I have this clip, I put Nike on the other day just to show everyone in the group. Here's a few things here. As I mentioned earlier, we know that Nike has a secure site because of the HTTPS, the S is for secure. We also have the padlock. This is something that you can look for. It's either going to be on the top left of your address bar or on the bottom of your browser, okay? And what that's going to tell you is that Nike uses a secure connection. So they're basically telling you when you shop on here, your credit card and your username and your password information is going to be secure because they have validated security on their site, okay? And as I mentioned earlier, once again, if you're going to go to Nike, type www.nike.com. Don't copy and paste it from your friend's text that you met in a bar or wherever. And then, as I mentioned earlier, social media profiles, networking applications like LinkedIn, emails. Be really careful about your own profile. Be really careful about the friends you follow and who's following you and the information you provided. Only know the people you know. Avoid the links that may be sent from you. You might, like I said before, a political affiliation. Hey, we want you to be a part of this sector in the Upper West Side for this political party. Next, click on their link. Here we go. Here's another social engineering example. And then you're in a world full of hurt. Another example I could give you here is, like I said before with the malware example, free gifts. If it's too good to be true, it's not going to be true. Look at this example I put here for everybody in the group. $1,000 from Cash App. Now, I know this is full of you-know-what because I checked my Cash App before the webinar, and I did not have an extra $1,000 on my Cash App account. And then the other thing here, thing we notice here is has my email address all wrong. And then look at this here. I know it's a little cut off, but the dollar amount, it's the comma's in the wrong spot, okay? So these are things that we really have to watch out for and be proactive. So now we talked about certain ways to protect yourself. Let's talk about Wi-Fi. Public Wi-Fi. Jeff, I think you mentioned a while ago when we spoke about someone you knew, I think in the park where they were using public Wi-Fi and they got hacked. That's definitely a no-no. If you want to use public Wi-Fi, look into a virtual private network. Basically what that does, a VPN, it's really cheap. It basically masks your identity on your phone, on your device, on your laptop. And it basically, it bounces your location. So the bad guys can't figure out where you are in order to hack onto your computer. So this is another way to protect yourself. Like you were saying before regarding the password manager. If you're running a VPN, it's very hard to, it's another layer of security. Another thing, if you don't want to use public Wi-Fi, use your cell phone. A lot of cell phones nowadays, they have personal Wi-Fi installed in as a hotspot, free of charge, or it's an extra add-on. And basically you have your own password. You can go to a coffee house, use the Wi-Fi straight from your phone. Now you have secure, free Wi-Fi from your phone. Another thing, your home Wi-Fi. You love your neighbors, but some of them you don't really know. They might be trying to steal your Wi-Fi so they could stream, you know, I don't know, Mandalorian or whatever the new show is now on TV. And you want to be able to create strong passwords so you can make sure that they don't hack onto your Wi-Fi. If you have a house party and you have a lot of people and they want to use your Wi-Fi at the party, give them a guest password. Let's just say wine party 23 could be the password. And everybody uses it. It's a temporary password on your Wi-Fi. And then when everybody leaves the party, you delete it. And then you don't have to worry about it. So these are just some ways about really being really proactive with your Wi-Fi.
I would say also that on public Wi-Fi, if you can
Mhm.
just get onto the internet without a password, then you know that it's not secure. That's a giveaway. If you,
That's a
because I
fifth
could,
tip.
yeah, because I go to a restaurant and you know, on the table or on the menu, our Wi-Fi password is, you know, that's,
Yeah,
I would
no,
think that's a little safer than no password.
right, exactly. Yeah. So that leads to our favorite. We're going to wrap up here, but this leads us to everyone's favorite in the webinar, and that's password. Okay. I know they're a pain. I know no one really likes to do them. In the moment of truth, we want to pull our hair out when we look for it, when we need it at the moment of truth. But to be honest, passwords are the gatekeepers to our personal financial information. Okay. So when choosing a password, you want to use something that's at least 8 characters long and it has a combination of numbers, letters, and symbols. I know you love your grandkids or your daughter and you want to use their name and their birthday on the 30 sites you visit. It's great. I mean, it's sentimental, but it's not a good idea. It's not really secure. Another thing is you can use two-step verification. Adds another layer of security. So just imagine like you were going to a vault in the bank, right? Your username and password's one gate. You get through that. The next one would be this two-step verification. So you might get a text, hey, is this really you logging into your Chase account? Well, if it is, here's this 6-digit number, put this in, and then you'll have access to your bank account. So this is another layer of protection or security to help with your account. So whenever you see it, it's good to select two-step verification. Another one I can't emphasize more, and I see it the whole time, it happens to all of us. We go to a bar, we go to a restaurant, we go to somewhere outside, we leave our phone on the table or on the bar, and we just go away to go to the bathroom or step away to talk to someone for 5 minutes. You never know who's around. You might have your phone stolen or your device stolen. And to be honest, now these days, someone can hack your device while they're sitting across from you. There's been reports of that. It's really important. A client of mine, she was pickpocketed in Europe, and she was really screwed, to be honest, because she had to buy a new phone. She had to update all her accounts, all her passwords. Another thing is invest in a password manager, as we mentioned earlier. There's free ones. Google has it, Apple has it, and then there's paid ones such as NordPass. And as I mentioned before, Norton Antivirus has one, McAfee has one as a part of their virus protection. I use Keeper. It's a paid service. It's really good. It's affordable. I believe in that one. And you're able to store your passwords in all one neat spot. Another thing too is some people, they don't have the time to do passwords. It's kind of a pain, to be honest. Me personally, I actually get paid by clients to go to their home and do passwords for 2 to 3 hours. I know that sounds kind of boring, but they're paying. But what I could suggest is if you have a password manager and you watch TV, put a password in your password manager while it's during a commercial break. And then when you get another commercial, put another password in. If you do that after your shows, I guarantee you by the end of the month, you'll have all your passwords in one neat, convenient spot, easy access. And then you don't have to worry about the little slips of paper, the business card, the sugar wrapper, or wherever you have them. I know my mother, she has tons and tons of password papers. She won't listen to me when it comes to a password manager, but I love her anyway. So let's go to software updates. We talked about those. Got to check those regularly so you can have your computer, cell phone devices running smoothly. Jeff and I already spoke about antivirus programs and how they can detect and eliminate virus spyware. And I also talked about the two popular ones out there that are affordable and they work really great. And I also mentioned that they come with virtual private networks to screen you when you're on your Wi-Fi, and password managers that work really good. So now we're heading towards the home stretch.
Oh, there's a question about passwords.
Oh, God.
Is there a problem with keeping all passwords in one file?
Meaning a password manager?
Not sure if they mean a password manager or if it's just like a file. Well, I guess you wouldn't put it in a Word document, right?
I mean, look, I know people that do that. I mean, if your computer's secure and you really believe in your security and you're okay with that, there's nothing wrong with that. You can do that. I mean, I know a lot of people and they put it on. I mean, I have friends, Apple users, and they use Notes. They have all their password in their Notes. But the problem with that is, and I mentioned earlier, let's just say you leave it at the bar. If somebody's able to get into your cell phone, they take your cell phone and they go into your cell phone and they go, oh, what do you know? Look what's in the notes section. Well, here's your financial username and password for your trading and your bank, and then your shopping sites. So that's why I was saying before, at least with a password manager, you have a master password to gain access into your passwords. Whereas if you were just using your regular cell phone, they could just get into your cell phone, unlock it, and then it would be on your notes.
Okay.
The same thing like you were saying before. Let's just say you did, like you were saying before, Jeff. Let's just say you did have your laptop and you had the all the passwords on a Word document. What happens if you're in the park one day and unfortunately your laptop gets stolen? Now this person's going to go home. They're going to go click through all your files and, oh, what do you know? Look what I found. A Word doc with all your news. It's like a layup in basketball. So that's why I'm a big advocate for password managers. And honestly, like the moment of truth comes, you have everybody over, you want to watch a pay-per-view fight or some kind of event, and you have to put your username and password, and the event's going to start in 2 minutes. At least you could go to your phone or your device and go into your password manager, and it's right there. And not everybody at the party wants to kill you.
Someone's asking, can you trust the password manager? But I would think you would.
I would hope so.
If it's a reputable company.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the companies I mentioned before in the previous slide, and I discussed during the webinar, these are really solid companies. In fact, Google just had a commercial not too long ago, I think during the Super Bowl, about their password manager. It was actually kind of funny because they showed all age ranges, from a small kid getting really ticked off that they couldn't remember their password, to teenagers, to baby boomers, to older adults. So.
Oh, this sounds like a good question. How secure is the use of external hard drives? I think that's a good solution, actually.
I mean, I discuss it all the time. That's a phenomenal question. I'm a big advocate for external hard drives. I'm one of those guys that believes in backup. Backing up your computer is just like your family photos. You don't want to just keep them out willy-nilly in a shoebox. So I'm a big advocate in that, because let's just say your computer got hacked. At least you have a full backup on your hard drive. Let's just say your computer gets stolen. At least you have a backup. You know what I mean? So I feel really secure with backups. I also believe in, the cloud, but there's been reports in the past of cloud photos and other cloud services, both, in business and personal, that have been hacked. So like I said it before earlier in the webinar, not everything's guaranteed, but it's very important to be proactive.
Yeah. And then we have a question that's not really a cybersecurity question, but it's about Um, I guess what I think the person's driving at is sometimes you'll get emails from companies that you don't do business with, or
all the
possible
time.
phishing or whatever. Is it wise to unsubscribe to emails you don't want to get? Was the question.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. Less is more. I think that's a fantastic question. I get that all the time. For full disclosure, I play hockey, so you buy a few things online, and then also you start getting
Mhm.
links for tournaments you never heard of in Canada. And just to the thing is the way I have spam, as I mentioned earlier, I have spam filters. So I review the email and I look at the site on a separate web browser, and it's legit. It's just, hey, they're just doing their phishing. I mean, listen, we all get monitored about the interest, the things we're into, right? If we're into luxury cars, other brands that we're not into, they're going to push us to buy something. It's just a new way of marketing. So, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's a
Mhm.
brilliant question.
But then I
Yeah.
heard that
Mhm.
spammers, if you unsubscribe from the spammer, you're actually verifying your email address to them. I think so. Maybe she might be asking that.
That's a good question. For full disclosure, personally, I haven't come across that problem. So maybe I'm not the guy to answer that, but I mean, I know from my own personal experience, especially with my clients, I haven't come across that. So, and the other thing too is, if you're coming across something that they're suggesting that you unsubscribe, I just filter them as spam or junk, and then I just delete them. It's basically just like taking a lot of I treat it like recyclables, right? So let's just say I'm getting something from, I don't know, Barnes and Noble, and I'm so sick and tired of the emails. I just filter all the Barnes and Noble emails to get moved into my spam, and I don't even think twice. I just click it and delete it forever. And then they don't even come across in my inbox. They come separately in my spam. They automatically go into my spam. I program that to do it that way. It's just like sorting at a post office, right? They have a sorter. So you have your zip code, and then your zip code's broken into certain sections, and the mail gets filtered. It's the same thing. You do that with your emails.
Someone just wrote to us, yeah, in rare circumstances, in his experience, sometimes the unsubscribe could be a phishing or a malware link, uh,
Absolutely.
but the chances are
Absolutely.
fairly low if you're paying attention.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's why I wanted to give these examples this evening. And the other thing too is, like I said earlier, there's nothing wrong with just listen. If it's really that important, you could physically type in the site and look it up and see if it's legitimate, and then actually sign on to their email list on their secure site instead of clicking the information on the link that was sent to you via your email.
hmm
And like I said before, if you don't trust it, filter it out.
So what would you like to do in our last 4 minutes?
Uh,
I know you
well, I
had
hope,
something for us, hopefully.
yeah, absolutely. Well, just real quick, we discussed before, if let's just say you get hacked, it happens. A few things I could run by you is disconnect from the internet, run one of these malware scans with antivirus software, change your passwords, and then notify your bank or credit card company or wherever else. Another thing I want to provide it, and I think Jeff, did you mention this? But
Yeah.
I can mention it now. I provided a lot of resources that, let's just say this happened to you or a loved one or a friend or a family member. Here's some sites with some links, just in case. There's a lot of them are government affiliated, so you can be really proactive and you can reach out, and the information will be there on what to do or who to reach out to. All right. We're going to head towards the end of the presentation, and we're going to just go over a few things. We're going to talk about what we went over. This is just a gist right here. Okay. Basically, I wanted to thank everybody for being a part of tonight's webinar and taking the necessary steps to protect your digital identity and to stay safe online. We went through some Q&A, and here's some resources, including my company's address and some of the research I used for tonight's webinar. And then another thing, I'm really thankful to Jeff and the people that come in age and everybody on this webinar tonight. It really means a lot to me. And I'm so thankful to provide this information because I know it's really important for all of us during this time in the digital age. And there's a lot of pretty bad people out there trying to get our information as well as our finances. So one of the things I like to do tonight is I like to offer everybody from the webinar this evening a special 30% discount for all of the Boomernology services that my company provides. And if you still have some more questions that we weren't able to address after the webinar, I'll be around for another hour and I'd be more happy to offer some free consultation. And it's basically on a first come, first serve basis. You can click on the link at boomernology.com. And I'm on all the social sites, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Nextdoor, Instagram. I'm on everything. So I think that's everything unless I missed something, Jeff.
I think you did it. Are there any, well, I think that's it. It's 8
Got it.
7:59.
Under 1 minute.
Yeah, so thanks everyone for coming. Now, if people just have questions that they want to, I don't want to put you on the spot.
No,
either
please.
they could consult with you, or if they want to email Coming of Age, we'll just forward the questions on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
I could be reached at. I'm going to be around for like the next hour, so you could just go on boomernology.com, okay, and or if you want to direct message me on one of the social sites like I mentioned earlier, you could also do that.
All right.
All right.
Sounds wonderful. Yeah, and we're getting comments just thanking us. Thank you, David and Jeff. Thank you. This was helpful.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks so much. It was a great presentation. Yeah, thanks.
If
Thanks
I could
for your
just say
comments in the chat.
Thank you. If I could just say one more thing, my phone number is also on the site, so you can. There's a direct link that you can hit me there right away.
All right.
All right.
That sounds great. Also, yeah, and thanks so much, David, for this presentation, for all the advanced prep work. You don't know people that are watching. He put a lot of effort into this one. Yeah.
A lot of hours in the gym.
So thank you so much for putting this together for us. It was really informative. Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
All right.
Stay safe.